The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Big night, Alexandra Park last Friday night, Michael Guerin. Even bigger this week, arguably the most important race meeting, well, I suppose away from the Auckland Cup, that the ATC do have.
Hi Gregor, it's their most important night meeting. Of course, it's a twilight meeting for the Auckland Cup. I thought some great performances last week. We'll talk about the track very shortly because they had a slight issue there that'll be fixed for this week. But when the fields came out on Tuesday, Greg, it's a case of how many of these first night winners will back up. We'll try and dissect that for you in the next hour or so, Greg, because it's not quite as easy as maybe it initially looked with all the good barrier draws for the favourites.
Yeah, well, the first part of the show is review preview time, so let's get straight into it with the Taylor Mile. Yes, back to a mile, as was the case when Spankham won it in 2019. This with Dawson Harford Limited, the 2021 Taylor Mile. Get Aaron White to bring them home, and then hear from the winning trainer, Ray Green, post-race.
Bad to the bone, steal the show through on the inside. Amazing Dreamers dashing late down the outside. Copy that, and bad to the bone. Copy that for the Taylor Mile. Copy that in 154.6 from bad to the bone. Back on the inside, steal the show. Amazing Dream.
Well, Ray, it must be satisfying to finally get the Group 1 with the stable star.
Absolutely. Yes, it's been hard, it's been frustrating up to now with the Group 1 races, but yeah, it's good to get it sorted.
2 weeks ago, he looked, Ray, like he was just taking life a bit easy. I believe you said to him, that's not good enough, let's get you a bit more awake here.
Yeah, like we had a little bit of sickness and we lost a bit of momentum there. And yeah, I was a little bit worried about him about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I thought he just got away on us a little bit too fat, but and then we had that trial with the 2-horse trial and he was pretty average. But last week he was, you know, we dished it up to him in between, and he's really come to the party last week, and I was pretty as confident as you can be for these sort of races. I thought he'd have to be the one to beat, and so it proved.
We know he heads to the Messenger next week. You've also been invited to the Rising Sun at Albion Park in July. How serious are you and owner Merv Butterworth about heading there?
Well, Merv's very keen, and so am I. We're both very keen to have a dab at that. It sounds like it could be a nice race for us.
You've had success in Queensland before, so does it make it easier to go back there, Ray, and attack something like this?
Well, it all depends what sort of animal you've got, but this horse is plenty good enough to front up to those Grand Circuit horses, so yeah, I'm pretty keen to have a dab.
Okay, you're keen to put the hand up and get the COVID jab before you get over there, Ray, because you're well past your 40s now, Ray. You need to be careful.
No, but it's funny you should say that. I actually inquired with them today. They're totally useless. You know, we probably won't get vaccinated for another 5 years the way they're operating, but yeah, I'm looking into that, you know.
Well, there's no rubbish about Ray Green, is there, Michael Guerin? He's going to wait 5 years for the vaccine, but sounds like he's very keen to go. And I spoke to Merv Butterworth and he said absolutely. A couple of other options too while he's there. Sunshine Sprint. I think the Blacks of Fake's worth at least a couple 100,000, if not 250. So if he's there, he can race for some serious money.
Yeah, it's good to see Ray giving the government some advice. I can see why he is too. Ray's actually in his 70s. He's the very youthful 73, and he wants his COVID jab before he gets on a plane to anywhere, which is entirely understandable. If he's my horse, he'd be going, for sure. Obviously, he has the Messenger this week, then the Jewels, where he's not going to have to race Amazing Dream, so you would think he's going to be a clear favourite for that too, unless he draws the second line. And then Queensland, I think, will suit him. Going back to last week, what you did see there, Greg, was obviously the very wet track. We'll get that out of the way first. What happened was the team at Alexandra Park put the conditioner through the track on Thursday. Then they looked at the rain radar on Friday at 2 o'clock, and it didn't indicate the rain would be anywhere as hard as it was before the first on the card. It absolutely bucketed down. I live about 5 k's from Alexandra Park, and it just hosed down. And what's happened is you put the conditioner through the track to create top, so the track isn't so hard for the horses, and there's some cushion there. But of course that cushion gets quite sandy. Once that got wet, there was an enormous amount of kickback. Now, it didn't seem to affect the results throughout the program. There were 10 winners, 4 led, 2 passing lane, 2 middle off the rails, 2 from back in the field. So it's raced pretty evenly. But the vision wasn't great, and the drivers were frustrated by that. A lot of kickback on the horses back in the field, which would suggest they were a little bit disadvantaged. And of course the driver safety is paramount, Greg. So the Auckland Trotting Club's not hiding from this at all. They said, hey, one of those things, we didn't expect the rain, it caught us on the wrong foot. We have relayed the track for this week, added more shell to it, which is the thing that makes Alexandra Park such a good wet weather track.
Yep.
They considered doing it last week. They thought they had enough top. Weather caught them out. They've done it this week.
Yep.
So that's a full explanation of what happened with the track. As for the winner, I thought he was really good, Greg, but I thought the second horse was actually the run of the race. And if you put Bad to the Bone in front in that race, I think he would have won.
Yeah, look, and you mentioned last week about Menangle and how that can improve a horse over a mile. That clearly is the case with him. Amazing Dream was excellent. Steal the Show used his gate speed. This week, Michael, we've got $1.55 for Copy That, and then we go out to $4 Amazing Dream. I thought if she drew inside him, she would have a chance of beating him this week. It's 1-1 in the battle. Of course, she won the Auckland Cup. Admittedly, Copy That sat parked on that occasion, but him drawing barrier 2, it looks like he'll lead. Steal the Show will trail, and that'll give him a great chance of another Group 1 placing.
Well, it does in a race where we don't see too many attackers. Obviously, Bad to the Bone attacked last week, but again, that's that Menangle mile thing. He was just a big, strong miler, ready to go to war over that distance. Whether he wants to go to war over 2,700 metres is a different thing. You start thinking to yourself, well, how's Amazing Dream going to win this race? If Copy That's in front, which we think's going to happen. If he's in front, Greg, and he just goes around at whatever speed he wants to go around at, surely Amazing Dream can't attack him. She's not going to beat him home doing that, one would think. So if she's in the running line, because she won't be able to get to the marker pegs, who is going to attack to enable him to be softened up? Really hard to find a horse in this race who attacks the leader.
Yep.
I just don't see it that way. So he'll get his chance. The one question mark I would have is this. He's only won once in his career past 2,400 metres. He's had 17 career victories, only won over 2,700 metres.
Yep.
It was a very good win. He went 3.18 for 2,700 from a stand back in October. So, and his Auckland Cup run would suggest he can cop a staying.
Yeah, I don't think the staying's a problem. Yeah, I agree with you.
Look, I don't think it is.
Yep.
But I'm not as confident as I will be over a mile or 2,200 metres.
Right.
For the obvious reason, he doesn't do it as often. So $1.55's fair enough. I think last week the bookies gave you a real spoil at $2.20. It's just hard to find ways to get him beaten in this race.
There were a couple of other good runs in it too. Need You Now made up a lot of ground wide out too, Michael. So I suppose those ones we're talking about, Steal the Show, Need You Now, they are more first 4 players as to winning chances. But it's a great addition, once again, of the Messenger, and looking forward to seeing if Copy That can join an elite group to do the double. And there's been plenty of good horses do that. Let's go and have a look at True Fantasy taking out the Fillies Classic. It was with Woodland Stud. Really good performance coming wide on the track, and well, she's inexperienced like so many of these are, but she showed great racetrack ability in this run.
Goes through to take the lead. True Fantasy rocketing home down the outside. Right there, 2 Chevrons bypass. True Fantasy, Dance Till Dawn's the one there. True Fantasy to get the win. Montana Glory flashes up to be in a photo for second with Dance Till Dawn.
Well, Jean, welcome back to New Zealand. It's a nice welcome from True Fantasy.
It is. It's great to be back. It's been a long time.
You've had a lot of great horses, Jean, racing in the last 13 months during COVID when you haven't been able to be here. How was that experience? Was it not quite as enjoyable for you?
No, not quite as enjoyable. It's not as much fun sitting on the couch. You haven't got the atmosphere. No, I'd rather be here.
Well, also, you're a horsewoman, Jean, so I suppose it's nice to get up close to your horses, see how they've developed. I believe you hadn't seen this little girl since the day you bought her at the sales.
No, I haven't. So it was a pleasant surprise to see her tonight before the race. She's matured really well. And obviously she's going to do it on the racetrack. So I was rapt.
She looks a pretty good filly. I suppose it's hard to work out this early in their campaigns, but they don't often come from near last to win a Group 1.
Yeah, no, that's true. And particularly on the track like it is tonight, I think it showed she had a bit of grit to want to do it, you know. Yeah.
Okay, you're back in New Zealand. Are you going to pop out to any of the farms and have a sneaky look at some of the yearlings or the weanlings or anything else?
Tomorrow I'm going back down to Christchurch to see the yearlings. I haven't seen them either, obviously, and see them getting broken in and hope I like them.
It must feel like it's aptly named a true fantasy. It must feel almost a fantasy to be here after all these months, to be able to get off a plane and walk straight through immigration and not have to go into quarantine.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's been amazing. When it started, I was sort of putting things off for a month, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'll get to see the jewels, and then something else, maybe I'll get to that, maybe I'll get to that, and then, oh, will I make the sales? And then, but no, I've made it tonight anyway.
You put your faith in Hayden Cullen. It would have been easy with horses as high wattage of yours to take them away, but you said, no, I think he'll do a good job. He hasn't disappointed you.
No, he hasn't. He's done a great job. Like, it's a big operation to take on, and to his credit, he's done it, and he's done it well. So, you know, he deserves the success that he's getting now, and he'll get more success.
And the run in this race of the Rolleston Base, Michael's been quite remarkable this week. We'll get to that in a moment, but gee, she was good. There's a few good runs around her as well, but on that performance, I think she probably deserves to be favourite for Friday night, even from the outside of the second row.
Well, the bookies are giving you $6.50, Greg. Now, the difference is this week it's 1,700 metres, and yes, she has the outside of the second line, so she's not going to need any momentum stoppers during the entire race. She's going to need to get into the three-wide train and need it to go well, and lots of things are going to need to happen well. But this is an absolute rarity. The race this week is a $5 the field pacing race at Alexandra Park. You might have seen 5 of those in opening markets in the last 20 years. It just never happens at the park, $5 the field in a pacing race. She's obviously a pretty good filly. She might be a really good filly. I don't know the answer to that. She's by Bettor's Delight, so one would think she'll keep improving. Second horse was probably just as good. Yep. And to be honest, Greg, I couldn't work out who half the rest of them were because they were covered in mud. So honestly, it was one of those races where they were running around the track and I was like, who are they? Yeah. Because you don't know the horses quite as well as you say know a Sunday Sun, who we'll see a little bit later. I don't know what to make of them, to be honest. I think she might be the best of them, Greg. I think we'll know a bit more after this week, but the line, she didn't win by that much, so the line between her and maybe third or fourth is so small. You can sort of see what the bookies are thinking this week, but she has to shorten. There's absolutely no doubts. True fantasy with the punters who will line up this Friday to bet. Most of them probably bet last Friday. They saw her win. Mark Purden's driving. I don't see the 6.5 sticking around.
So $6 about a better you, $7.50 for Suntan, $6 Mr. Kaplan, who's already been a group race winner, of course, this season, and then you get to $5 Montana Glory and True Fantasy at $6.50. That could change. Just on Cover Girl, she led up for Bod Butt, really copped a wee bit of pressure, wet track, few things again her. She'd need to lift a fair bit though to warrant some of that money that came for her early on, a couple of weeks.
Did you have an opinion on the race, Gregory? Because I don't really know who the best of these fillies is.
No,
do you have an opinion over 1,700?
And the way the barrier draw has fallen, Michael, makes it even more difficult, hence the reason the bookies have come up with the market the way they have. Look, I think Suntan's got a great chance from her barrier draw because she was really good winning at the park a couple of weeks ago and has missed last week's run, which might take the edge off a few of them, Michael, because it was pretty tough going for those fillies. But yeah, I'd rather just watch this, and over the short course I think it makes it incredibly difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen, therefore a better barrier draw for me. What about for you?
Don't have a deep opinion on. I quite like Barry and Scott Phelan's 2-year-old fillies. I think any one of those could turn up in and go a super race without surprising me. So
is Montana Glory the better of the Montanas?
I don't know. I thought
Mickey
I
Montana.
thought Mickey Montana might be. So I don't really know yet.
Yep.
Couple of things. It was, as much as we've seen Jean Feast on this show a lot over the years.
Yep.
It was really nice to have her there because it was like welcome back to our
Quite
Aussie
refreshing,
mates.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, there's so many of them. So many people in Australia, whether it's Danny Zavazados or obviously that copy that people.
The Butterworths, yep.
The Butterworths, they just spend so much money here.
Yeah.
And our industry would be stuffed without them. There's no doubt about it. Amelia Rosati's obviously another one with Mary.
Yep.
So, and Dean Shannon. Without those people coming in and supporting our industry, we were in big economic pain at the sales level. So to see them back here was really opening it up, and we're expecting plenty more for the jewels.
Yep.
I think it's really good. The other thing was, there was a general feeling on track that this was, people enjoyed it. Even though it was raining, people enjoyed the meeting, Greg. I think there's a lot of momentum building in the north toward the jewels. I think a lot of harness racing people were saying, hey, we weren't here last year. This didn't happen. And this jewels thing didn't happen last year.
So let's make it happen.
Excited about it. So other thing I took away from it was the Hayden Cullen thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Hayden wasn't a hiding to nothing when he took this job. And this is his second of his Group 1s in the north since he took the job. I think everybody's now starting to calm down a little bit and go, okay, this isn't going to be some big disaster where horses are going to be shipped off all over Australasia. Their procedures they have in place there and their systems are obviously very good, and they're definitely good enough.
Yeah, they certainly are. Brother to this horse, Keep On Dreaming, goes around in the Supremacy final down south, which we will preview a little bit later on. Ninth running of the Anzac Cup saw a dual winner in the form of Sunday Sun. Look at him power around this final bend. We'll hear from John Dunn post-race, but this horse registers win number 6 at the ultimate level.
Majestic Man, Oscar Bonavina, they all chase Sunday Sun, 75 to go. Sunday Sun's in for another Group 1, and it's an Anzac Cup double. Sunday Sun, Bolt for Brilliance second, Oscar Bonavina third.
Well, that looked a lot of fun.
Really pleasing, yeah, a lot of fun, all right. Like we were trucking into that last bend, and he got around there in one piece perfect and hit the line well. So I sort of wasn't quite 100% those Canterbury runs, but got beaten by a better horse on the night, and he's really coming on since then.
Can you remember on a trotter hitting a bend at Alexandra Park going that fast before, especially 3 wide, because you were humming?
No, not at all. I was humming all right, and like you say, I was off the track 3 wide. Maybe on the fence, different story. When Brad and I were going for it, a couple of runs back here, but no, not 3 wide like that.
How close is he to his peak? Because he looked like a horse who was building at Addington. Better tonight. Is there any more improvement for next week?
No, I reckon that's his peak. He comes with that last run in Addington. We give him 1 run at home before Craig brought him up, and yeah, he was pretty on song then. So no, I think he's at his peak now. So looking forward to next week.
Friday, the Road Cup. Is that going to be his last run of the campaign?
Yeah, that's it. Give him a well-deserved spell, and yeah, attack the Dominion again.
Yeah, brilliant performance from him, Sunday Sun. He seems to love the Alexandra Park way of going too, Michael, and it was a sight to behold as he spun around that final bend. A majestic man, probably what we expected and what Phil Williamson expected, just slightly underdone. He'll improve a fair bit for this. I thought Oscar Bonavina, there's a bit of merit there. Obviously Bolt for Brilliance as well. I suppose for a nagging moment, when the barrier draw came out, I thought, oh, it's the one draw they wouldn't want. Barrier 1 was Sunday Sun, but he's pretty safe away. And I think he has the respect regardless that John can just put him into the race when he wants to. And he's looking to become a multiple winner of this race and join a really good bunch of horses that have achieved that.
I think he'll still win the Road Cup on Friday night, but I still don't like Barrier 1. Like, it's the absolute draw that he can only draw 1 to 7. There's 11 horses in the race, 4 are unruly. He's not one of them. He could only draw 1 to 7. It's the only barrier I didn't want him to have. Now, it may be totally fine for the reasons I'm about to explain, but we saw what happened in the New Zealand Trotting Cup. Barrier 1 can be a nightmare over 2 miles at the top level. The starters get more nervous. They muck around. The horses come in. They start pouring the ground. The 2 mile starts right down next to the Lone Star and the apartments. There's a lot going on there. Sunday Sun wouldn't have seen much of that in the last couple of years. So none of it helps my confidence levels. In saying that, because there's only 7 on the front line, because the other 4 on the unruly are sitting just slightly back from them, Greg, there shouldn't be, they're not all crammed in together. So that it's not like they're all on top of each other and he's going to have horses leaning in on him and he's going to be claustrophobic. And because also it's a smaller field than a New Zealand Cup field, they shouldn't muck around for as long because there's only 11 pieces to put into the puzzle. I think he'll be fine. If he doesn't gallop, which I don't think he'll do, if he's only slow away, well, he'll still be close enough to the action to win. It just makes me feel, rather than going, wow, he's just going to bolt in, to, okay, the start of this is going to be interesting. So,
okay, $1.65, is that enough?
No, not for me. Look, only reason being, there's a lot of $1.65 floating around or close to it in the markets we're going to talk about today. He's one horse who's not guaranteed to lead and not guaranteed to get the run you want, whereas probably 5 Wise Men or Copy that are going to get the right sort of runs to probably do the job. So barrier 4, $1.65 probably. Barrier 1, just that little bit of doubt. I want 20 cents more, and I'm probably not going to get it.
Okay, so who's the one, if he is to get beaten, who's the one horse that can do it?
I think a Bolt for Brilliance was able to get rolling over 2 miles. He's not as good as Sunday Sun yet, but I think he's got a chance. I think Oscar Bonavena might be a big improver. And a horse like Temporale could just jump away quickly from barrier 2, hit the marker pegs and just sit there and do nothing. So I think the thing about this, Greg, is there's enough proven Group 1 good horses in the race that you don't need much to go wrong for Sunday Sun. But do I still think he'll win? Yes. Will I take $1.65? No, because I don't have to.
2017 was when Temporale won this as a 4-year-old, so Bolt for Brilliance looking to emulate that, and Temporale looking to join the I Can Do's It's and the One Over Kennys of this world who've been able to do the magical double in the last 20 years or so. And I think Lyle Creek, he actually won it 3 times. He's the only 3-time winner of the great race, the Rowe Cup. Looking forward to that, as we are the Trotting Derby, where 5 Wise Men will take his spot. We had a little bit of concern about Alexandra Park first up, other than running in slightly, and that's where John had to check him there and straighten him up. He was faultless, and he did this to them.
Leaf Stride is balanced up again and starting to make ground on the HR Fiskin passing lane, but 5 Wise Men a trotting superstar in the making, this boy. 5 Wise Men too good for Leaf Stride. Mufasa Men.
Well, John, that was almost a perfect debut for 5 Wise Men because he got the win but didn't have to work too hard to do it.
No, really, really good actually, and pleasing was he relaxed. Derby down home, he sort of a wee bit of shuffling around the first bend, and he over-raced quite bad, and so to relax and get around the track, and he sort of handled that last bend really good. So that was good.
Did he feel at all like he was a bit concerned or out of his place on the right-handed track?
No, not at all actually, but we've got some steering going there inside and he sort of handled that well, and but no, he actually trotted safe. If anything, I probably should have, when I pulled him off his feet, I just about missed Ken Barron's cart top of the straight. It was good to truck through that, so no, it was really good.
Do you think he'll be better for the Derby next week, A, because of the distance, but B, for the experience?
Definitely the experience, and yeah, definitely the distance. If he like he was tonight and just chilled out and relaxed on me, so yeah, looking forward to it.
The Jules is closing on us pretty quickly. Is he going to be able to learn gate speed by then to dominate a Jules if he gets a good frontline draw?
He's actually got a really quick gate speed. I just haven't wanted to use it just yet. Being a Muscle Hill, they can get a bit fired up, and to be fair, I've actually drawn out wide most of his career. So yeah, but at the trials, I sort of one day I sort of let him loose a wee bit, and he has got good gate speed and safe at it.
So a word of warning there for rival drivers, Michael. He's got good gate speed. What he has this week in the Brecon Farms Northern Trotting Derby is Leaf Stride drawn to his inside. Now, he didn't cope with that bend that well, maybe a little bit down to the track, and obviously his first look at it. He has excellent gate speed. Spoke to Phil Williamson about that, Michael. He said he's very pleased with the horse. He'll get his chance this week. He didn't say he'd park 5 Wise Men, but he said he'll know he's been to the races. So, yeah, the battle lines are drawn there, but clearly 5 Wise Men at this stage, 6 on the bounce for him. He's dominating the 3-year-old ranks.
Yeah, and dominating in lots of different ways, Greg. Left-handed, right-handed, sprint trip, staying distances, wet track, dry track. He's running out of things for us to pick on. Really interesting comments there from John Dunn. I'm glad we managed to get that for the viewers about his gate speed, because I hadn't seen that. Now, if Leaf Stride intends to lead this week, 2,700 metres, Leaf Stride also has the Harness Millions coming up, which 5 Wise Men doesn't have.
Yep.
And then the Jewels, I don't think he parks them.
Right.
I know the Williamsons love to park horses. They're very aggressive drivers, and I love that about how they do their business, but not over 27. I just don't see it happening, Gregory.
Right.
That's if they both come off the gate comparable. I mean, so that's why I'm happy to take $1.65 about Wise Men than I am $1.65 about Sunday Sun.
Yep.
He only has to get to the lead and he'll win this.
Yep.
Whereas, the Roe Cup's got a lot more depth to it. I think it's a muddling crop of horses. I think there's lots of talent in this crop.
Yep.
But I think we've had a few horses like Bit of Muscle for the Wayside. Out of My Way's not here. It's at Addington again this week. We had a galloper last week in Mexicana, Greg. It's just getting harder and harder to find ways to get 5 Wise Men beat. So I think unless he... And if John, the other thing too is, if John's right about that gate speed, if he can really run the gate and Leaf Stride does run the gate, well, there's no reason he can't get across and get to the trail.
Yep.
It's not like a pacing race, Greg, as you know, where they're going to come off the gate comparable. Some of these will be 4 lengths behind them after 100 metres. So I think he'll win.
Yep, $1.65 for him. Should be another great contest, the 47th running of this excellent race. There's the review preview part of the show for Alexandra Park. Stick with us though, a whole lot more information coming your way on the other side. Welcome back into your box seat. Last week we talked about the invitation for Krugs to the new race, the Rising Sun, for $250,000. Confirmation from Cran Dalgety last week at Addington Raceway. He's on his way. Cran, confirmation during the week that you're heading to the Rising Sun.
Well, we'd love to be there. Sure, it's a few sleeps away from now, but speaking to the owners and even sort of thinking about it myself, we'd love to be there, but sure, a lot of wood would go into the bridge, but we couldn't say no.
Are you seeing it as a bonus because you were clearly heading there anyway for the South East Derby and obviously the Queensland Derby?
Yes, 100%. It is a bonus. Sure, it's it's going to be a clash of the Titans, of course, but being an inaugural race, it's special. There's only 2 3-year-olds invited, and they'll draw 1 and 2, and then the good 4-year-olds. So it won't be a walkover by any means, but it looks like a great challenge. Yeah,
expressive ego, amazing dream, Krugs. And obviously Copy That looks like he might go there as well. This could end up being a clash of the Titans.
Yes, it will get a bit of promo, hence being a new race, and then a lot of money involved and a bit of a bonus if a 3-year-old does win it. So, yeah, so the lure is really good to get there.
Michael, maybe they should call this race the Clash of the Titans after Cran said it and then I repeated what he said. But it's an interesting concept, and with the 3-year-olds drawing 1 and 2, it gives them an advantage.
Well, it does, because initially you think, well, the 4-year-olds will be too good for the 3-year-olds, but it's getting late in the season. By the time we get to July, our horses are almost 4. The Australians are actually still 3.5 because of their seasons at a different time, or 4.5 for a horse like Expensive Ego. If he led, he'd be awfully hard to beat around Albion Park, only because the 3-year-olds can just rattle off amazing times. Would he beat Copy That? I don't know, but if he got in front of him and didn't hand up, he'd be hard to beat. So I think they're doing the smart thing. You accept the invitation. If you go there and your horse is going great, you start. If the horse isn't going great, you don't start.
Yep.
It's pretty simple. If you don't accept the invitation, you're not going to get another one.
No.
So I think they've done the right thing with him. I think he's the only one of our 3-year-old crop who would cop that. I think he's a genuine open class horse in the making. The rest of them, I'm not so sure about. So, great concept. When I initially heard about this concept, I thought, who's going to go to Queensland in the middle of winter? But Amazing Dream, Copy That, and Krug versus Expensive Ego, who won 48.6, winning at Menangle last week on a Tuesday, just won by a mile.
Yep.
It's going to be a hell of a race, Greg, and it's good because once we get through the jewels, there's nothing really here until a sort of late August, September. But it's going to give us a focus, Greg, and I think that's really important. Otherwise, harness racing can sort of become muddling through winter. So I think Krug, particularly being in there, could add some real interest to it from a New Zealand point of view.
Yeah, we'll keep previewing that and getting the confirmation that he will be going there via the Kentucky Arna Lodge team. Let's go back to Addington Raceway last week, and My Ultimate Chevron, winner of the Sapling Stakes first up. That's him getting to the outside, the son of Sweet Lou. Couple of runs in between we'll hear about more from Gavin Smith, but this was an excellent run and a cracking finish.
Chevron's rushing home. My Ultimate Chevron moved up to Mr. Ibiza. Bollinger up the inside, will obey. My Ultimate Chevron will obey. Will obey might have got there. Will obey the inside, maybe a nose over My Ultimate Chevron. Third close.
Back on track.
Yeah, Greg, happy with that. He's unfortunately a bit of a bug went through the team, and he had scope good and his blood was good and he worked good before going to Wyndham, but I had a sort of aching doubt that his paddock mate James Cagney had been crooked the week before, so there was some trepidation about going, but he raced ordinary, and he's just taken a fair bit to get over it, and it wasn't really till Tuesday that I was happy with him. He sort of had his old zing back.
He was very good tonight.
He was. I thought he'd be short. He probably could have done with a trial, but he probably got the front a little bit soon and was getting tired that last bit, but he blew up across the back a little bit and he should be better for it, so I was happy that he could go that good when he's a little short.
It's a big month next month. What do you do between now and then?
Look, it's a bit of a tough one because I don't really want another trip away based on how he went at Wyndham, and I'd like to have taken something down for the Invercargill race on the 4th to support the club. They put up good stakes, but I'm probably leaning towards missing that, and now that he's won again, and I don't know if I want to race C2s as a lead-up. I don't think there was a 2-year-old race for him before the first big one, so look, we might just give him an easy few days and then look at a trial, but I'll have a think about that one. I kind of wasn't expecting to win tonight, so we'll have a wee think over the weekend and see how he pulls up.
Really good performance from him, coming wide down the outside. Gee, there's some good runs in behind though, Michael. Willow Bay got badly held up. Actually, Natalie Rasmussen got herself in trouble there. One got pushed over the markers when he was fighting for room. Bollinger, I thought was good without being outstanding. I think he'll continue to improve. And another one that I've got in the tipping competition each week, Michael. But nice performance from this horse. He talked about James Cagney there. Actually, Gavin said after the Sapling Stakes he thought this horse was potentially better than My Ultimate Chevron. He's got a wee problem. He's got a wee fracture in his knee, so he's now out, so he'll miss the rest of the 2-year-old season. But he's typical of the sons of Sweet Lou. Really good high speed over a really short distance, and he showed that again.
Good looking horse too. Yep. Look, he's got a nice big shoulder and neck on him and stuff, and a bit of white in the back legs, but it's actually, I'm really happy to see Gavin have a horse of this quality because it adds a different dimension, and with a guy who's not scared to get involved in big races, he's not scared to go forward, so that puts a cat among the pigeons. But when you watch that performance, I watched it, I reckon, about 6 times since Friday night, he was last at the 200.
Yep.
Now, if you watched harness racing for 20 years at Addington, of juvenile races, and I'm not talking midwinter, there's 6 lining up here, you know, let's give this horse a race and give it a spell type horses. I mean, genuinely good horses.
Yep.
You never see them come from last at the top of the straight at Addington, let alone last at the 200. There's been such an enormous domination by the All-Stars in the last 10 years, and they just never sit last in juvenile races. They stay out of it early, go around, sit parked, or lead, and they win. I can't remember, Greg, the last time in a serious race, a good horse's race, we saw a juvenile come from last at Addington. We saw one at Alexandra Park a couple of weeks ago, one of the fillies.
Yep.
But I racked my brain to think of it the other day. Couldn't think of one, Greg.
Nope.
So,
can't get one either.
Really good horse, maybe a better horse than we think. Put it this way, if Bollinger or Willow Bay had done that, people would be saying, oh, Hayden Cullen's got another star, how good is this? And we'd all be going crazy about it. Because it's in a smaller stable, we're not going crazy about it, and maybe we should be. So I'm really happy for Gavin. He's got a horse to attack these good races with. who's the best of these 2-year-olds, Greg? Absolutely no idea.
The other big thing with him, Michael, is he hasn't drawn a barrier yet. So imagine if he sits in the trail or 3 the fence and gets that sort of run with that sort of speed. Yeah, he's got a part to play in the size and the harness millions and those types of races.
I think the juvenile season's really interesting because, yes, Hayden Cullen has a lot of good horses. We expected that, and Barry and Purdon and Scott Phelan have a couple of really good ones in the north. Brett Mangos has got a couple of nice ones. I'm excluding a few people here. Yep. Gavin's obviously got 2 nice ones, one now racing for these races. There's enough variables in it, Greg, to make it interesting and, to be honest, more interesting than it's been for quite some time.
Agreed. We saw a really good horse again at Addington Raceway last week. Her name is Better Twist. She just keeps on winning. Natalie Rasmussen was in the bike and she dominated from the park position. Good run, Braveview Kelly, launched down the back by Blair Orange, and a very big run from Lysa Beach out wide. We'll get Matt Cross to bring them home and then hear from Nat Rasmussen.
Better Twist, and she cruises down to the line in Heat 7 of the WR Fillies Series. She's too good for them. Second in Lysa Beach, third to go by Braveview Kelly.
Wow, she was super.
She was very good, Greg. I think, Hayden had been really happy with the work and her last trial was good. I just think tonight was a nice run for her. It was a good field and, she just sat up there parked nice and on the bit, and when Blair came up it was probably a bit of a blessing, just got her right up on the job and, just committed, and yeah, she won quite nice on the line, I thought.
Was that the key to her tonight? Because we know she can be a little bit vulnerable from, say, the 600 to the 200. She almost lets the others into the race.
Yeah, that's right, Greg, and I sort of watched her races and I just thought probably, won't let her do that, just have her right up hard on the job. And yeah, she went good. She's just a lovely filly.
Yeah, she's got some lofty targets. We know the WR Series, obviously the Oaks and the Jewels. So it's a busy year for these fillies, isn't it?
Oh, definitely it is, and they've sort of been up north and back. And but she seems to have coped with it really well. She's mentally tough, I think, as well as physically tough. So just that great constitution and just a great racehorse.
She's now won 9 of 14. She was excellent there. When we preview the Southland Oaks later on, we'll talk about Braveview Kelly and Lysa Beach, Michael. But Better Twist, when she dominates like that, she's going to be pretty short on each time she lines up.
Yeah, I think the key to it's what Nat said about keeping her up on the bit. I think she can be a bit dopey, lazyish sometimes because she's still learning. And let's be honest, she's far more advanced than her mother, Twiston Twirl, was at the same stage of her career because she was more of a developing 3-year-old, whereas this horse was a dominant 2-year-old as well. I think now they can get her up on the bit. If they can keep driving her like that, almost like a tight line situation, Greg, she's going to be awfully hard to beat. She might be susceptible to like a Honey Queen horse around Cambridge, over a mile, but in the staying trips she'll be too good. The really interesting thing about her is this, and she's not going to come back and race in the New Zealand Cup at 4. We know that. And you think, well, what do you do with them at 4? But of course, she's 3 in Australia to December the 31st.
Yep.
That's huge for her because she can go over there and race in their latter season Oaks, like the Victoria Oaks.
Yep.
She can race in the Breeders' Crown
Yep.
on New Year's Eve when she could also be racing in an Auckland Cup like Amazing Dream was. So she has a whole gauntlet of races, and because the Breckens are breeders, you'd be really keen to do that because then you don't even need to race at 4. I'm sure she'll stick around at 4. But if you can only have these basically 18-month 3-year-old seasons, Greg, they can just race their own age group and own sex for an awfully long time. She's probably good enough to race in a couple of the derbies over there too.
Yep.
So I think she's a horse who I would keep racing right through her age and sex to New Year's Eve. And if you did what the galloping people do, just retire her at 3. I'm not saying that'll happen, but I'm saying she's got such a long 3-year-old season. It gives her an incredible array of options in the next 8 months.
Yeah, it certainly does, and we look forward to seeing her over the month of May at Addington and then on to the Jewels. Ashburton race on Saturday. At time of recording this show, the fields weren't out, but I wanted to highlight the 2-year-old race. Of course, looking forward to seeing these horses clash again. Here was the last time they raced at Addington Raceway, and all of these are nominated for the race again. That's Highgrove in the yellow colours out wide. Mystic Max, who we highlighted in last week's show, excellent. And Rakiro Blaze, who finishes second here, was first up. I thought he was very, very good. Gavin Smith doing the driving for Phil Burrows there. Also in the race was Alaria Sand. It's hard to work out what might happen, Michael, until we see the barrier draw, but it's a prelude to the Lone Star Sire Stakes Trotters Series. So I thought it was definitely worth highlighting for the Ashburton Club, who've been so generous in their support of this show.
Okay, so they race Saturday. Greg, is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
I struggle. No, don't get me wrong. I hope Ashburton have a great day. I used to live there. I love the place, but we should have all our fields out by Tuesday night. There's no reason not to have fields out by Wednesday lunchtime.
The problem being, Michael, the public holiday, and I understand it. And most of them were out yesterday, and they can't do every set of fields.
Greg,
I understand it.
I understand. I don't believe in public holidays and racing. I don't have them. You don't have them.
No.
The people watching this who muck out boxes don't have them. I don't care about public holidays.
Right. Okay. Be a good race.
It's only being fair. That's my
understand.
attitude to the whole thing. When people in racing tell me it's a public holiday, I just laugh because I know the stable hands don't have them.
No, but also you had racing at Methven, so the people that would be nominating, putting the horses in, all of that sort of stuff on a Monday, it would all have to be done on Tuesday, and there were 4 other sets of fields came out. So
look, again, conversation for another day, but it's awfully late in the week by the time.
Michael's on his soapbox, lovely.
Well,
it is late, mate.
If you start bringing out the fields, the same day the galloping fields come out, as the racing editor of the biggest paper in the country, I know what happens to you.
Yep.
You just disappear.
Yep. Understood, mate.
No one thinks about you.
And I suppose it is hard to understand as well, given that the big day, Diamond Day, is on Sunday and their fields were out yesterday. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on from that. Have a look at Addington Raceway. All importantly, Michael, people need to focus here. The race meeting starts at 1:06, so it's an afternoon meeting at Addington Raceway. The race I want to highlight includes this horse, Gold Chain. This is one of 2 fillies and mares races that Addington are going to have over the next 2 weeks. This is the Joan Belcher Legacy Mares Handicap Trot. But Gold Chain's done an excellent job so far. Colin De Philippi driving for Bob Butt. He was up in the north, of course, but a really good run here. Excellent performance from Gold Chain. She's now won the 5 from 20. That'll make her hard to beat, Michael. She's back off 20 metres with time in a bottle. But I actually like one. I really like one in this. Overzealous. Gets into this race beautifully. Lost a point last week, which meant she's off 10 metres. Only one off the front, Michael, in Bright Glow. She's a good beginner, Overzealous. How many races she won now? 7? I think she gets a great chance to make it 8. It's a terrific stake, 17,500. I'm happy to be on the horse they call Panda.
Mate, I'm happy there's a mares trotting race.
And another one next week.
We should have more of them. Great that Addington have them. Great for Harness Racing New Zealand to help them program that. I think it's fantastic. Gold Chain's a really big scopy mare. I really like her, and she looked a bit like she was still finding out how to use her feet about a year ago. But she's really improved with that concentrated racing, couple of trips away from home. So, yeah, I agree with you, Overzealous, but I looked at the field, I thought, she comes in nicely here. It's been a while since she won a race, but she has been racing a better field, so therefore it's harder to win a race. But, yeah, really happy to see Gold Chain mature into the horse she was, because about this time last year, when we just started to come out of COVID and start the trials, she looked like she was going to be a good mare, and she's proving to be so. But those mares races for the trotters, Greg.
Handicap this week, Michael. Mobile next week. So everyone gets their chance. I think it's a great concept, and long may that continue. With our friends from Garrards, we need to head across the Tasman, pick up some of the performances over the weekend, plus preview some excellent racing they have coming up there this weekend. First of those we want to have a look at, Michael, is My Ultimate Byron. This is actually the same connections, Tumby Park, which race the horse of Gavin Smith's we just showed, the Sweet Lou horse. He's pretty good, this guy.
Oh, he's good. Trained by Jared Elchin. This is the APG Gold Billion final last week from Menangle, and as you can see, he absolutely smashes it. They went the first 400 metres in sub 26 seconds. They actually went 25.4. And this is driven by young Cameron Hart, who's got a big future in harness racing. That's his second Group 1 for Cameron. He's going to go a long way. Articulate kid, drives well. One of these young drivers who likes to get him up on the nickel, Greg. But this is a pretty darn good horse, and he's every bit as good as every juvenile I've seen in New Zealand this season. Slightly different situation for them though. They don't have that compacted racing we're about to go through at the 2-year-olds. They sort of ease off now.
Yep.
And they have a big break.
They have another go
over winter, and then they go again. So the question's going to be for some of these horses: you might be flying now. Will you still be flying in October? So it's going to be an interesting time for those horses. I'm still not sure everybody's got their head around the fact that you can race for 3 months then have a break for 3 months, and then bring him back up and race for 4 months. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the form at the start of the season is still the same form at the back of the season. But Greg, he's not going to need to go any faster.
No, excellent from him, 152.4. Ultimate Baxter for the same set of connections, won on Tuesday and went terrific as well. And of course, My Ultimate Chevron that we profiled before. Spellbound arrived in Melbourne. Nathan Purdon is now her trainer. And Michael, she was excellent first up. Stu McDonald doing the driving. You'll tell us more about him. He's had big success in WA, of course. But she goes around again this week. She's to the back row on Saturday night. But on that performance, with natural improvement, understand Mark Purdon suggested to Nathan after driving, nope, don't worry about another trial, she's ready to race, and he was right.
Yeah, and really important for Nathan. I mean, obviously Nathan can train, but once you set up in a new camp, you want people to gravitate towards you, and the Aussies are huge for this. Once you get on a roll, horses moving barns, a lot more horses move barns in Australia than New Zealand. And Nathan could very quickly end up getting some nice horses if he can produce these sort of performances on a Saturday night. You're right. Mark Purdon was across there for the sales. He worked the horse the previous Saturday and said to Nathan, don't worry about the trials, send this to the races. Probably an indication also, Greg, of that drop down we often see from New Zealand open class or open class mares company to Australian company. Once you do that, more often than not, they're able to win. But really important outlet for Nathan in Victoria, and this is the reason. Often you're talking to people and you say, well, we could send this to Victoria, who would I send it to? There's no shortage of good trainers over there. But there's not a lot of New Zealanders who have a link with Emma Stewart or have had horses with her before. Andy Gath trains a lot of trotters, but again, he doesn't seem to have a massive influx of New Zealand pacers. A lot of people now are going to say, okay, well, I've got Tim Butt, Anthony Butt, and now I've got Nathan Purdon.
Yep.
I can send a horse to in Victoria. So it makes it easier to send them there. Obviously, New South Wales, they almost always tend to go to Luke and Belinda McCarthy. Yep. So I think Nathan might get some spillover from that, Greg, particularly, here's the crucial part, Breeders' Crown.
Yeah.
December, Victoria Derby, late in the year. Yep. How hard's it going to be for Mark Purdon to say to Hayden Cullen, well, Hayden, you could just
why don't you send these?
Pop that across there to Nathan. He might look after that. So yep. I can see him having some really talented horse flesh in the stable by the end of the year.
Quickly, want your opinion on these two races. Expensive Ego Barrier 4 versus MacDan, 210,000 in the Pacing Gold final.
Spoke to Luke McCarthy. He said Melton's no issue for Expensive Ego, even though he was beaten in the Bonanza, but he was knocked over twice. They think he's the second best horse in their stable. Their best horse is King of Swing.
WA Derby, Jumping Jack Mack, who, speaking of best horses, trained, Gary Hall Sr. saying it might be the best 3-year-old he's trained, which I think is a pretty big call. Didn't that little horse from New Zealand who won about $4 million, was he 3-year-old when he got him?
On the Mighty Quinn, he was a 3-year-old when he got him, but he didn't race extensively at 3. He's up against Lavra Joe in the Derby in WA, which doesn't have quite as much New Zealand interest as usual. I don't know. I think Lavra Joe's a pretty good horse. Yep. Very free-going type of horse.
Inside back row won't be easy, will it?
No, look, I don't have a strong opinion on it. Half these horses won't stay the distance anyway, so he'll just go around and sit park. Lavra Joe, really good race on Friday night, which you probably won't stay up for, but if you don't, we'll show you the replay on this show next week.
Yep, we certainly will. Time for us to take a quick break here on your box straight the seat. We're always in your home straight, and when we come back, we'll have a look down south at their feature meeting coming up. It's Diamond Day. Welcome back into your box seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. The retirement of Ultimate Sniper to stud. This is him in his crowning glory, Michael, the winner of 14 of just his 20 starts. The Inter-Dominion Series was his, 4-time Group 1 winner, and I'm sure he'll do a fine job at stud.
Very good horse, Greg. We never saw the best of him, even though he won the Inter-Dominion, because you get a feeling in a New Zealand Cup with a head of steam up, he could have been amazing, and he would have loved Menangle too. Would have been a great Australian horse. But look, beautiful bodied horse. They're a family of horses with really strong shoulders, so that'll really lend themselves to some of the mares in New Zealand, just to give them that more oomphy North American type look. Good luck to to his to stud connections at Alabar, but yeah, part of me, Greg, sad that he's already retired to stud, but there's some pretty good blood there between him and the brother, Ultimate Machete. Interesting to see which one of them turns out as the better daddy.
Yeah, Alabar and Neverley are getting the job done there. Last week we discussed who might be at the top of the list in terms of our female trainers. You asked, Michael, I delivered. There you go. Natalie Rasmussen, obviously in partnership with Mark Purdon, 898. Catherine and David Butt, premiership winners as we know, 740. Nina Hope, we touched on that last week. She's already gone up by a couple. Michelle Wallace there over 500. Nikki Chilcott, 473. Colin and Julie DeFilippi together, and Anna Donnelly's already made it past the 200 mark. So there you go. There's our leading female trainers. Michael, in terms of wins, I'm pretty sure I've got that right.
Great list. My apologies last week when I was rattling them off the top of my head. I forgot about Catherine Butt, which is
you weren't the only one.
Remarkable considering she's won a premiership along with Davey. It's pretty special people on that list and people who I have nothing but admiration for, but really have a lot of admiration for what Anna Donnelly's doing at the moment. Over 200 wins. She was part of the Nikki Chilcott team for a while. She's doing a super job here in the north, and a lot of people saying, hey, if I had a horse, I'll be happy to send it there, Greg. So Nikki's getting close to 500 individual wins. She's one of the few people on that list who has never been in partnership. Most of those young ladies have been in partnership at some stage, but Nikki hasn't been. So to get to 500 solo wins, training is nothing short of remarkable, and she got another one last week with Monkey Selfie at Alexandra Park.
She sure did. Big day Sunday. It is dubbed Diamond Day, of course. Let's have a look at three of their features. Race number 5, the first there of 12, gets underway at 11:30. The Diamond Creek Farm Classic for the 2-year-olds. Here's the performance of Franco Indy. Enormous from him, Michael. Circumnavigated them, sat parked for the last lap and was too strong. The son of Always Be Mickey, of course. He's come up a $2.80 second favourite. The favourite for this race, and he was ultra impressive in this. He's got the outside draw, is Republican Party, the 2-year-old by Better's Delight, out of Democrat Party for Cran Dalgety and Blair Orange. But he looks quite smart, Franco Indy. He's out of I Dance with Cullen, so he's got plenty of breeding about him there. He'll have his work cut out from the wide draw, but he showed in this race against the maidens it didn't matter then.
I think he's pretty good. I'll be happy to take $2.80. By the way, Greg, seeing him reminds me, of course, the weanling sale was on next week for New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred. So their weanling sale is on next week because this time last year, Alabar had a lot of horses go through that sale. They'll have a lot going through next week, and these are the sort of horses you can buy from them at the weanling sale for a lot cheaper than you'll get them at the yearling sale, Greg. So all that information is on New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred's website coming up next week. Yeah,
it certainly is. Good pin hooking opportunities for you there. I think it's about 130 going through that sale. The Southland Oaks has been won by some exceptional fillies. Another really good race. Do want to have a look at Better Talk Art, finishing third here in the same set of races at Rangiora. In fact, it was the week before. This was a decent race, as we know, Michael, with Pace and Pride taking it out. Got you covered coming wide down the outside. She's pretty good, Better Talk Art, but she'll need to be because she's inside second row as well. There's a deep race this year. We've got Braveview Kelly at $5.50. Life's a Beach, who we saw defeat Braveview Kelly, running second behind Better Twist, has come up with a beautiful barrier draw of 3, Michael. $2.50 the price for Life's a Beach, Tony Barron and John Morrison. I think she's clearly the one to beat, particularly now, Michael, with the advantage of the barrier draw.
Yeah, I'm happy. 2.5 for her. Yep. She might start $1.90.
I think so.
She beat
Better Twist.
Beat Better Twist 3 starts ago, then beat the older horses the following week, and then last week she was super in a race she couldn't win against Better Twist, coming home from near last. I think she's a pretty good filly for Tony Barron. Really happy to see John Morrison get his hands on a good horse. Yep. More than happy to take $2.50 for her.
Yeah, and the other feature, of course, we're going to have a look at now. Keep On Dreaming performed excellently, building in towards the Alabar Southern Supremacy. Storm's home. I'm all about the base. Got a winning break, but have a look at this horse, Storm down the outside. Keep On Dreaming. We've already talked about the Better's Delight, Secret Notion, breeding earlier on with True Fantasy, and I thought it was an excellent run from Keep On Dreaming. Mind you, Michael, Ragazzo Mac has remained in town. Nathan Williamson has come up with barrier 3 with him. I know he's your best bet when we get to the back end of the show, but from there at $1.55, he's pretty skinny.
Look, he's skinny enough, Greg, but I'm willing to totally forgive the New Zealand Derby run. The week before in the Flying Stakes, nothing went right. So back on his home track, he's had a workout against Pembroke Playboy. I think he'll be too good for them, Ragazzo Mac. I think they're a really nice bunch of horses, but he should be finding the lead, and I think he'll be winning, and that's why later in the show I'm going to pick him as my best of the week.
All right, he went to the trials against Pembroke Playboy, and there was nothing between them at the end, so he's had a tick-over trial, and he can bounce back. And Nathan wasn't disappointed in his Derby run, he just never got into the race. Let's get into, and good luck to the team down there, South. It's a massive meeting for them. But let's get into the hits and misses from last week. Matt Damon, 3,000 at 320, got there by a short margin. Gold Chain, a $1,200 spend there at $5. Some good bets, Five Wise Men, Sunday Sun, and copy that. Some of those that missed, Kobe disappointed, 2,250 at $1.95 went west, and Cover Girl, who they backed significantly in race number 5 at $2.50, a $5,000 bet there. 3,000 already on Sunday Sun at $1.60 in the Can-Am Road Cup, so he's shortened $1.65 and $1.60 already. And the Sire Stakes, Dance Till Dawn, there's been a $500 play there. At the $9 quote. That's the hits and misses from the bookies. We haven't got a map for you this week. Waikato Bay, plenty race, of course, Thursday night, 8 races there, 5:18, 5:29, the first of 10 for Alexandra Park on their big one. The Met at 1:06, remember that, in the afternoon on Friday, 10 races there. Looking at 9 from Ashburton around 12 o'clock on Saturday, and of course in Invercargill with their 12 races, 11:30 on Sunday. Best bets, Michael, with Door Contracting. You're looking for 10 on the bounce, and Ragazzo Mac is the way you're going.
Look, he's not going to be long odds. I could have easily took Five Wise Men, copy that, or Sunday Sun, Greg. They're all sort of around that sort of $1.65, $1.55 mark. I know it's only short, but they have to beat Group 1 horses, and Ragazzo Mac doesn't. So good luck to the team in Southland. It's a proud harness racing region. Looking forward to your Diamond Day on Sunday, Greg. So he's my bet of the week, and last week's one was backed in from $4.50 to about
nice
$2.20. So
great stuff.
Everybody jumped on.
Yeah, they certainly did, and you've 9 in a row. I'm not surprised that they didn't. Mr. Ibiza, for me, went round in that Sire Stakes. He takes on Maidens, comes up with barrier 4. Blair Orange should lead. I'm going to say it should win, Michael. Let's hope it does. And looking forward to the Addington action precursor, of course, to the big night at Alexandra Park.
One more bit of big news, of course. Lochinvar Art out for the year.
Yeah.
Out for the year. So Lochinvar Art, continued leg issues. Potentially could make it back for the Inter-Dominions, but what'll be really interesting, long way away, Inter-Dominions in December, how many New Zealanders potentially head there for a series which is going to see them race in 3 different parts of New South Wales. So big news, Greg. It may not feel big now. It's going to be big by the time we get to the end of the year.
Certainly could be. Whole lot of information for you on our show tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you, both of us will, in 7 days' time.